final day of this unit, we're going to be working with double triangle problems. When we work with double triangle problems, the general rule that I try to follow is that most times I am going to want to find the shared side first. And in the picture that you see here, the shared side would be this side, the one that the two smaller triangles share. Oftentimes, it's not actually what we're looking for, but in order to figure out what we're looking for, in this case, AB, we oftentimes have to find that shared side first. So when I look at where the X is, the AB that I'm looking for, I realize that I don't have a ton of information about that triangle, so perhaps I have to go through and use that rule that I keep going back to about finding the shared side. So I'm going to call that Y. In the smaller triangle, the one that goes from B to C to D, it has an angle measure of 27, a side of 9, and a side of Y that I'm looking for. It's a right triangle, so I can use right triangle trig, the SOHCAHTOA. Sine 27 equals 9 over Y. So Y is equal to 9 divided by the sine of 27. And in this case then, when I type that in, 19.824 20338. And I'm not going to round that value because even though the question says to the nearest tenth, I shouldn't be rounding till I get to the very last step. So in the triangle that's on the top, so the one that actually has that side of AB in it, if I take a look at that triangle, this angle up here I'm able to find because all the angles in the triangle have to add to 180. So these together is 57, which is going to leave me 33 for over here. So when I go through now to solve this, I need to use the law of sines and set up a proportion in order to go through and solve. So I've set up my proportion with the law of sines. In this, don't forget the side across from the 33-degree angle is this big long decimal that we have right here that we figured out for Y. I've cross-multiplied and solved. Got the big long decimal. Remember, carrying the whole 19.8242038 all the way till the end. And I round in my final step. So my final answer in this case, 30.5, where it's rounded to the nearest tenth. For the next question, right off of a Regents exam, it talks about how in this particular case we are surveying and the surveyor is marking 3 points across the riverbank from where he is, H, G, and F. The surveyor is standing here at point K, and K is perpendicular, KH is perpendicular to the line that connects the points H, G, and F. So they say that the measure of angle KGH, so I have to draw this in, right here is 41, and the measure of angle KFH, so that goes over to there, is 37. It's asking, after telling us that the distance from G to F is 45, it's asking for us to find KH, which is technically the width of the river, to the nearest tenth. So in this particular case, I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to find that shared side, and I'm going to call that shared side Y. In that shared side of Y, the triangles that contain that are the one on the left and the one on the right. I'm going to focus on the triangle on the right. And I'm going to draw it a little bit bigger so we can get a better look at it. It's K, G, F, where this is 45, this is 37, this is the shared side. In this particular case, this angle is 139 because it's a supplement to the 41, which means we're then able to go back and find out that the angle here at the top is 4 degrees. That angle of 4 degrees is important because remember when we use law of sines and law of cosines, in this particular case that side is across from that angle, and then I also have the scenario where across from this angle is this shared side that I'm looking for. So because I have two angles and two sides across from each other, that is the perfect setup for law of sines. So in this particular case, I'm going to do sine 4 over 45 equals sine 37 over Y. And then when I go through and cross multiply, I have 45 sine 37 divided by sine 4, which gives me 388.2317237. Again, that's not my final answer, so I don't want to round that. I do need to take that y value though and remember that that goes here. So when I'm looking at the triangle on the left, I now have an angle measure, the shared side of y in this x that I'm looking for, so I can set up a SOHCAHTOA trig problem because of the right angle that's in here. Sine of 41 equals that side of y, which is that 388.2317237 divided by my x value, cross multiply and solve, and I end up with 254.7029277. I'm rounding in this case to the nearest tenth, so 254.7 for my final answer. The solving of these equations you already know how to do and should be pretty good at by this time. So I'm more concerned today not about solving. You can see I'm going kind of quickly through that. Not concerned about solving. I'm concerned about you being able to set it up. I'm not going to actually go through and do this last question with you, but I am going to give you a couple of pointers here, and I will give you the final answer. Your final answer in this one should be 796. They do give us a little bit of information here. They tell us that an airplane is up here and it sights the top of a 50-foot tower at an angle of depression that is 28 degrees from point A. So angle of depression we know is really right here, but I'm going to put that angle of depression in down here. And then it says that the airplane continues on flying, and it has an angle of depression, again, to the tower, and this time that angle of depression is 34 degrees, which means that this whole thing is 34. And I just realized I did write the wrong angle measure. It wasn't 50 degrees right here. That was the height of the tower. It was technically 28 degrees that we were talking about, which is right here. Now keep in mind, there is this little smidge of an angle over here, a little tiny slice of an angle that's right here, and that little slice of the angle is 6 degrees. So in here, I know that the 34 that was at the bottom is also right here. I know that the 28 that was at the bottom was also right here. I have the height of the airplane, 2,050 feet. And then I have that 50-foot tower there, so you can work your way around. Again, in this case, my first step is going to be to find this shared side of y. So I'd like you to try on your own to get this answer. I'd be happy to go over it with you in class.